I'm Michelle Bentley, and in this webinar, we are going to discuss setting up defaults for bond matters. Now, most of your bonds will come through from the various institutions electronically, but there are certain fields that LegalSuite does require to be completed, and these can be done by means of defaults here in the DocGen database. Now, by completing these defaults, this will pretty much complete many of the screens for you, thereby saving you an enormous amount of time when capturing the balance of the details. Okay, so we come to the Setup drop-down menu, we scroll down to Conveyancing, and we select Bonds, and we are going to be setting up defaults for bonds. So you'll see the default screen will open, and these are defaults for my user, for Michelle Bentley, because as you can see at the bottom, I'm logged in as Michelle Bentley. However, you do have the option to copy these defaults to all employees. Alternatively, each user can set their defaults up for their particular user. Right, PA granted and documents signed at. Generally speaking, the power of attorney and the documents are signed at the same place. Now, if your clients come to your offices in Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg, you can insert Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg. If, however, you travel, to your clients or you register in various places, you can leave this blank and fill it in on each matter on the fly. In my particular example, my clients come to me at my Cape Town office, so I am going to insert Cape Town at my PA granted and Cape Town at my document signed. Now, my deeds office has automatically defaulted to Cape Town, but if I click on the drop-down menu, these are the various deeds offices across the country. And I would advise that you select the deeds office that you do the most work out of. As I mentioned, this can always be done on the fly per matter as well. At Commissioner of Oaths, you have the option to leave it blank. If you have multiple commissioners, you can leave the Commissioner of Oaths field blank. The document will leave a space, and your commissioner can then affix his or her stamp to the affidavit. In my case, I'm going to insert my Commissioner of Oaths that I have in my office, and I am going to pop her name in. Okay, and her designation is that of practicing attorney. Notary public, if you have a notary on site who preps all your notarial bonds and such, you can insert their name. However, if your agents or your correspondents notarize your documents, you can leave it blank. In my particular example, my conveyancer is also my notary, so I'm going to insert his details at this field. And his province of practice is that of the Western Cape. Right. At the conveyancer tab, this would be the details of my conveyancer. Again, if you have multiple conveyancers, you can leave this blank and fill it in per matter. I have one conveyancer in my little firm, so I'm going to insert his details here. Okay, first names, initials, surname. Okay. Sectional agent, this would be the name of the person representing the mortgagor in terms of a notarial bond or on a special power of attorney in terms of exclusive use areas. Some of the time it would be your conveyancer. In this particular instance, I am going to co-sign the documents with my mortgagors or my sectional title bonds. So I'm going to insert my name here. Okay, and it goes. Now, if you are a firm of attorney that is not has offices in a deeds office town, or if you're outside of the prescribed area as set forth in the Deeds Registries Act, and you need to use a correspondent or a lodging agent, you can tell the program here who your lodging agent is. So if I click on the lodging agent checkbox, the program will automatically take me into the address book and filter by attorneys. Now, I'm going to select my correspondent here. If your correspondent doesn't appear in the address book, you can always insert them at this point, and I would recommend watching our webinar on how to add parties to the address book. Right, I click on Select, and Smith & Jones will then appear as my lodging agent. Right, to the Appearer tab. Now, generally speaking, we have several attorneys or several conveyancers that attend the deeds office on a daily basis. And on the power of attorney, we would normally list all of them. And one of them would then prep our documents at the appearer on the bond section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my various conveyancers. There we go. Separated by the and word. Right. And as I mentioned, I'm going to leave my appearer on deed, or in this case, appearer on bond blank. And whoever appears on the day and whoever does the prepping will affix their stamp to the documentation. Okay, to the property tab. Now, held by, this is standard wording on all of our bonds, and it would be held by transfer number, and we stop there. Please note, no abbreviations or contractions of words are accepted at the deeds office, so words like number must be typed out in full, and depending on whether it's a conventional or sectional bond, the T or the ST number will then be inserted. At subject 2, we insert the standard wording of subject to all terms and conditions contained therein. Okay. Now, your units of measure, generally speaking, we register bonds over residential properties. However, if you do deal with the larger commercial bonds and the large farm bonds, you can set your default to hectares. In my case, I'm going to set it to square meters. See. Right, there it is. And our final little tab, we set up the heading of our pro forma account, which is presented to your mortgagor. Now, you can call it a pro forma statement of account, but please don't call it a tax invoice. Right, so I've set up all my defaults for the English language. If you draft in Afrikaans also, you can set up your defaults for the Afrikaans language, and here you can see that I have already set my defaults up for the Afrikaans language. Okay. So once your defaults have been set up in both English and Afrikaans, or just in English or just in Afrikaans, you can either copy these defaults to all other employees, or you can simply say OK, and any new bonds that are brought into the system, either electronically or manually inserted, will now contain these defaults in the DocGen database.